This is the Between Part 8. I want to do a quick character recap. The main thing I want to know about each hunter is just where do they stand in terms of their conditions, I think is the main thing I'm interested in right now. Yeah, just conditions at this point. And then anything else that you can think of that you want me to be reminded of from last time, you can let me know that as well. We'll go in reverse order. So we'll start with Mr. Gennadios.
Well, Alexander is feeling like he's just one of the herd after encountering a sheep cultist.
Or something.
Yeah. And he's still just about a third through his reflection. But he's doing okay.
Awesome, thank you. Let's go to Dr. Tagore.
Alrighty, I am a mess of conditions right now. I am fascinated from witch puppetry. I have Solomon's wisdom learned from that hat pin stabbing moment, and still have guilt over thwarting my competitor by murdering his attempt at a recreation. Also, in our last sort of character upgrade based on experience for advancements, I took the Resurrectionists, so I've now got a team of grave robbers working for me.
Nice, I love it. Cool. Thank you. Let's go to Willoughby.
So I also am a mess of conditions. I am still thinking on the Sons of Another World. I am uneasy, although I do not note from which particular thing I am uneasy. God only knows, wandering through the
a general
kitchen.
uneasiness. A general uneasiness might be appropriate.
And then also, I am still shooken from the silvery void and almost not existing.
Yeah, that silvery void is going to become really important right at the beginning of this session, as you will see soon. We had just finished the dawn phase, if I'm not mistaken, so I think we're just like sliding right into a day phase now. We have 2 active threats. Let's do clue recaps on those. We have Figs Pigs and the Creature of Cremorne Gardens. Figs Pigs, you have 3 questions, all of which must be answered, and the opportunity is resolved in order to resolve the threat. So the first is Patrick Fig. What kind of animal does Patrick Fig think he is? The opportunity, it's complexity 2. The opportunity is lure the animal out in the open and then capture or destroy him. For Obert Fig, what type of victim does Obert Fig prefer? That's complexity 2. Opportunity, lure Obert Fig to you and then capture or destroy him. And then what did La Hortensia Fig lose that she's trying to recapture or remember? Opportunity, find her and then capture or destroy her. That is also complexity 2. We have 7 total clues on this mystery. A body whose organs were reversed, a dog collar and leash sized for a large neck, a large collection of torn opera tickets. A tattoo was seen in the Turkish baths that matched that found on the piece of flesh in the pie Mr. Turner ate. It was an anchor. 3 skeletal hands. These were given to you by Titus Fig, each smaller than the prior. And a Bedlam patient killed by another patient, a large block of salt forced into their mouth, causing them to choke to death. And that same victim had a mouse skeleton in their eye socket beneath an eye patch. So very strange occurrence there. That your characters may not even know if that's a direct connection to Figs Pigs, but of course you as players can make sense of it. So, and let's go to the Creature of Cremorne Gardens. This is complexity 4, the lone question we have right now, which is this fishman creature real or is it a hoax? And if you answer that one correctly, you unlock the next question. We have 3 clues on this so far: a large dorsal fin seemingly torn off, several fish heads along the water, and Madame Tussauds is planning a Monsters of the Deep. I think it was actually like Horrors of the Deep, but in any case, an exhibit of waxworks featuring Monsters of the Deep. And so that's where we're at with the 2 active threats. We have on the mastermind right now, I have us at 7 clues on the mastermind. And we don't need to go through all of them, but that's just kind of where we're at in terms of Theodora. Our next big kind of triggering event is at 10 clues. So we've got a few for that. Let's talk about the day phase. And a brand new threat. This one you will want to, there's a little bit of lore going on in this one, so you want to pay attention here. This threat is called the Whateley Camera. Let me type that here. The Hargrave House library contains research on the so-called Whateley Camera, one of the first wet plate type cameras ever produced. People who are photographed by the camera have been known to disappear without a trace. An American scientist and philosopher, Atticus Whateley, studied the camera for a number of years and proposed that it was some sort of entity, a demon or even a god, and that the people who went missing had been transported to another dimension. Whateley advanced an idea called the fragrant void, a sort of proto-Earth that existed in near total darkness and that was home to powerful entities who were banished by God on the first day of creation. He believed some of those entities could still operate in our world, hidden from view, perhaps through common objects like the camera. While his research couldn't prove the existence of the fragrant void, he did manage to show how the camera caused people to be whisked away to another dimension. Unfortunately, before he could present his work for review, he was killed, his notes were destroyed, and the camera went missing. 1 week ago, a beautiful actress, Penelope Levy, disappeared. She was last seen at the Society Obscura, an exclusive and secretive club for wealthy photography enthusiasts located in a converted townhouse in Kensington. A missing actress wouldn't merit attention from Hargrave House if not for the fact that her lover, Bert Broadswell, sent the hunters one of the pictures taken of her at the Society Obscura. Who has the cosmic passage marked?
That's me.
Dr. Tagore, this photograph that was given to you by Bert Broadswell, something unusual about the photo unmistakably confirms it was taken with the Whateley camera, this photograph of the missing actress. What is that?
The edges of the metal plate on a normal tintype photo will show like a lip in the emulsion, kind of where it was clamped in place. I'm not making this up. I teach wet plate photography. So anyway, real wet plate photos have that border. In this one, the border of the metal plate that was not exposed to light is firm, rigid metal. The center where the liquid emulsion was exposed to light is spongy. Like if you touch that plate, it gives. It actually physically moves in a way that metal plates will not normally.
So how does this reflect in the picture? Because the picture is how you know it's the Whateley camera.
Well, I'm saying that, tell me maybe this is wrong, that the physical substance of the plate is distorted in a way that just doesn't match normal tintype photography.
I see. So the picture has a certain quality then.
Sorry, I have a wet plate camera right here, but my plates are upstairs to demonstrate this. The plates are sheets of metal, and what I'm saying is that the metal plate doesn't conform to physics anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The part that the outer rim is intact because that wasn't exposed to light, but the center part.
Okay, so when you touch it, it feels kind of like spongy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like a trampoline or something. Like it gives in a way that shows
interesting. Yeah, I like it. Okay, that's good.
That a normal camera couldn't have possibly done this.
I got it. I like it. Okay, cool. That's cool. Should make sure I understood completely what we're doing here. Well, This is confirmation that this is the Whateley camera. It was taken with the Whateley camera, and Penelope's disappearance lines up with the stories that you know about the Whateley camera, that there is something supernatural going on here, that she may or may not have been transported to another dimension, who knows. But in any case, the question that we have here, there's just one question, but it unlocks two opportunities, either of which you can pursue. The question is a complexity 8, which is, what circumstances will cause someone photographed by the camera to disappear? Like, how do you basically recreate the process? There are two opportunities. The first is you can resolve the threat by reversing the process and bringing Penelope Levy back to this world. Or you can do both. You can use the camera to transport yourself to the fragrant void and make contact with the entity there. Doing so gives you access to the custom move Void Walker. So that is that. So this is almost like a purely like scientific inquiry for Hargrave House. Like it's not even clear if you really care about Penelope Levy coming back, right? It's the fact that the Society Obscura must have the Whateley camera. And so that's what's going on here. And so I will, I'll fill in the notes, or well, it looks like someone's already doing it, but yeah, so that's where we're at. We have a day phase to do. We've got 3 active threats. We are minus Mr. Turner right now, at least. I mean, Mr. Turner might be here later. We don't know yet. Let's just go around the table and figure out what everybody wants to do. Dr. Tagore.
Ooh, I feel like with 3 conditions, I need a moment for indulging in a vice. If anybody wants to join me in that. We usually do 2 moves in the day. Is that correct?
I usually do like 2 scenes each. It kind of depends, but it's really, there's no like hard limit.
And then I guess I want everybody's opinion on this, but should we make progress on Fig's Pigs, and that we have more clues there, and to try and resolve one of those 3 steps, because they seem relatively easy in their complexity. I'm up for any particular one. Fraser, or sorry, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting Fraser's character's name, the vessel.
Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Is the one who had the more direct experience with Obert, so perhaps we should leave that for when he's in play. What do y'all think?
That makes sense to me. I think Alexander would be very intrigued by the photography angle of the Whateley camera.
I'm intrigued by it from just a personal level. In character, I'll go where we want to go.
Well,
so Willoughby, what
then
do you think?
I guess sitting around the breakfast table, as we like to do, all of our mystery solving does seem to be first thing with eggs. Maybe we knock out one, or even trying to remember the complexity adds, and then we subtract the number of clues. It's been 2 weeks, I'm doing math.
You subtract the complexity and then add the number of clues that you work in to get to your final modifier. Yeah.
As Willoughby was the one that found the dog collar and leash that seemed quite oversized and did most of the snooping around in the Fig's Pigs, we could probably take a stab at both what animal does Patrick think he is, and potentially what did Hortensia Fig lose that she's trying to recapture. I think we could probably knock out both of those and then at least be several steps ahead while we perhaps recuperate with vices in the afternoon.
I mean, we can go straight to answer a question, which kind of happens outside the structure of the day-night phase anyway. But yeah, you do have a fair number of clues on Fig's Pigs, and they're only complexity 2, so you could probably knock out a couple of them if you wanted to, with the clues you have right now. Do you want to go ahead and propose a theory about Patrick then?
I do. I think that Patrick thinks that he is a dog. I think that the collar and leash speak to that very clearly. In order to, I just don't see any other clues that really tie into that. So I might just roll at the -1. It's a fairly easy answer.
Yeah, it is. It would be at a -1, which is not a great roll, but does Brian or Dr. Tagore or Alexander, do you have any thoughts on maybe how some of the other clues might confirm that Patrick thinks he's a dog?
You've got a bunch of bones in play. They seem to be, I mean, like the mouse skeleton's too small. That's more of a cat-based thing, I think. But you know, would a dog collect the different sized hand?
The skeletal hands, yeah.
Yeah, like literally
Mhm.
fetch me that hand, and you know, kind of running around.
Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's pretty good. That gets you at a flat roll then with those two.
Yeah, I suppose Titus Fig would have had the hands as he like took them from his son's mouth as he was gnawing on them, and then just kept collecting them because he kept bringing them home. I like that.
Yep.
Any other thoughts? It's flat roll. If everyone's cool with a flat roll, otherwise, yeah, that's where we're at.
Remind me the consequences of a failed roll. We lose those clues, right?
No, you do not. If you miss the roll, let's just read the move. On a 6-, the answer is incorrect and I react. So you don't lose the clues, but you're just wrong. And then I get to do a reaction, which could be bad for Hargrave House. So
I'm feeling like a flat roll is something that I can do today. So let's just give it a whirl.
go for it.
Well, that is a 8, which means that yes, huzzah, he is a
It's
dog.
correct. So it's the correct solution, and the opportunity can be pursued. However, because it's a 7 to 9, I will add an unwelcome complication to the answer, and or pursuing the opportunity will be more dangerous. And I think the unwelcome. I think that here's the unwelcome complication. You are, I'm going to kind of take it out of character, or like kind of sort of stuff that maybe happened off screen a little bit. I think at a certain point you do come to the conclusion that Patrick Fig thinks he's a dog, and you at a certain point are in the middle of luring him out when you realize he's been taken in by the daughter of a wealthy family, like, and sleeping in the family's back garden, because and they've become friends. And so now you have the complication of how do we bring in Patrick Fig under these circumstances? Patrick Fig is theoretically the least dangerous of the Figs. So, but that's where we're at right now. If you want to avoid this complication, you can all mark Janus Mask to avoid it. I'll remind you that there is a threat-based Janus Mask here called the Mask of the Pig, which is still available. And there is, so that's an option if somebody wants to mark that and 2 other people mark regular Janus Mask. Otherwise, you can try to figure out how to deal with Patrick, who's been taken in by I mean, I'm sure her parents don't know, but this little girl, yeah.
I am okay with just the narrative of it, so I'm fine.
So the opportunity is unlocked. You know the circumstances, and you know generally where Patrick can be found or can be drawn to. So let's
right. He's in there.
Do what?
He's in that family's yard in the evenings. Is that correct?
Well, you can only resolve the threat at night. So
Right.
yeah, we'll say yes. Like that's the best time. So per the rules, you can't resolve it during the day. So, or no, that's not true. This one, only the last one has to be done at night. You can do the other 2 anytime you want. So. So let's dive into the day phase. Alexander, you expressed an interest in going to the Society Obscura. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I'd be definitely interested in that. But if Dr. Tagore needs company at the bath, uh, he's always available for some R&R.
I would follow Alexander to, well, not the bath, but to the Obscura.
Mhm. Dr. Tagore, do you want to scene at the Turkish baths?
Sure, yeah, wouldn't mind that.
Well, let's frame it. Let's have the scene. So take it away. Roleplay.
So Alexander, we've been to the Turkish baths before. So if I recall correctly, your stunning physique drew sort of drew the admiring gaze of all these people in it. I've had a conversation with the owners, and you shouldn't be made to feel awkward by the gazes of any of the patrons. I think that's been taken care of.
Do you care, Alexander?
No, he'll kind of tilt his head and go, "Much obliged, Doctor."
Goodness. I don't know. I guess in sweating out things here. Well, hang on one second. I'm gonna get what conditions you're facing here. Oh, the sheep thing. All right. And sweating things out. Looking back on the witch coven and when they assaulted Hargrave House, it's a moment where I wish we had a camera that we could have had documented proof of the telegraph wires being used as puppet strings to just prove that was not something supernatural. Photography is so great at that, don't you think?
In some ways, in my experience, the lay people will do whatever they can to explain it away as something mundane, even with evidence. You had quite an evening that night.
Yeah, it wasn't my proudest moment. I'm not much for scuffles and fisticuffs, really. I enjoy the body and anatomy, but it's more once it's laid out prone, I can handle disassembling and reassembling the parts. It's kind of more my neck than dealing with animate beings intent on causing harm.
I suppose that's part of your doctor thing, is it not? Do no harm?
It is. One attempts to do no harm. Every now and then you question yourself. Are you doing the right thing as you try to reach towards the creative powers and sort of take on that mantle of a godlike being bringing another to life?
Bringing another to life. And that seems out of your normal purview.
Oh, I've said too much. Never mind. It's an idle thought. There's a theory of galvanism and an idea that electrical currents run through our bodies, and that if we can just keep the current running, we might be able to sort of pierce the mortal veil.
Fascinating. Electricity. And these experiments of yours, any results?
Academic largely at this point. I'm totally bluffing. Academic at this point. If you hear any strange noises in Hargrave House, it's not me. I don't. No idea. Rats in the walls. I think we have maybe you should have Willoughby look into some rodent control.
Oh, I'm sure they'd be happy to. There are so many hidden spaces in that house.
Let's take a look at conditions. Are we getting any conditions cleared here?
Was looking to sort of self-analyze, fascinated by witch puppetry, just
I like it. Yeah, I'm into it. Yeah.
into oblivion, tangentially on the guilt, but
Yeah,
Doesn't
you
really
can
matter.
clear that one.
All right.
Mr. Janios, are you okay, or do you want to make a case for clearing your first condition?
I think as he's making idle conversation, he's mostly watching everyone else watching him and appreciating that
Good.
he does stand out.
You are not one of the herd. Yeah, that's good. You can clear that. And Dr. Tagore, this is your advice. So you get to either invite Mr. Gennadios to ask you a question about your past or stumble on a clue. Another flaw on someone walking by that it's connected to one of the mysteries.
Oh,
All of his clues are on ankles.
Exactly. They're all from the knee down.
let's stumble on a clue. Do I describe it?
Yes, you get to define it. And it can be for any threat you wish. So.
Okay, it's for any threat. So let's stick with the passersby with strange matters going on, but we'll go above the ankles this time. We'll go to the fingernails. So in early era photography, if you got the chemicals on your nails, it would stain your nails permanently black, but the root bed would continue to grow black nails.
Nice.
So somebody passes by with, they're scrubbing down with their towel or whatever, black nails.
I'd like to hone in just a little bit. Why would that stand out as a potential clue about the Whateley camera?
It could, maybe that's a mark of being a member of the Society Obscura. You do it on one finger.
Good. We know the Society Obscura exists though. You have access to it. So it's not like, that's not really like a thing in question, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Does it show an initiation into a certain level of
that's I like that.
a secret society that's within that?
That's a good clarification there, or good sort of drilling down. Let's define this then. A person with stained fingernails shows level of initiation into the Society Obscura. Okay, good. So this is maybe something that you all heard about before, and so this is kind of confirming that there are people who like operate in this higher level of the Society Obscura. Is that the idea?
Perhaps Alexander has been looking for the Whateley camera.
Oh, good. I like
and
that too. Yeah. So
heard from.
Well, we have we've already established that Hargrave House has research about the Whateley camera. Like, a lot about it already. So this just kind of like all is in line with things you've heard. So I'm into that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Just further kind of confirms that the Whateley camera is indeed what's at play here. But in any case, we'll play with it. Once it's time to theorize, you all make sense of it more. Let's cut over to Willoughby. Willoughby, while this is going on, what are you doing?
Well, I haven't been able to rid myself of this very new concern I have for the extra dimensional spaces that I have stumbled into over and over and over again. As I cannot drink by myself to clear a condition, even though I might be tempted to, I think that I would perhaps go to the Cremorne Gardens just to try and like clear myself of just investigate a little bit in a cheery place. There aren't any silvery portals here. It's just fish heads, and do a little investigating.
I love it. So I'll give you a reminder of all the sorts of key locations at Cremorne Gardens. There's the dancing platform, the bowling saloon, the banqueting hall, the promenade, the hedge maze, and then there's Chain Walk, which is like the street just outside of the kind of on the harbor, like right near the gardens. You also have made contact with Greco, the second-sided boy, and there's quite a lot of things to see and do there. But those are just kind of some key ones. So where do you go first? What do you do?
I would, along the promenade that I walked with Alexander on the way in where we initially saw the fish heads, I would walk that way first to see if there is any new and or interesting, if those fish heads have just remained there, if there are new ones, like somebody's baiting perhaps a creature to come out or just more signs of that, and continue to see if I can find any fishy clues as I walk from tent to tent towards the bowling alley.
I think you'll see some fish heads that are leading you in. There are a couple more, and they go into the hedge maze.
Okay.
So if you want to head into the hedge maze, I think that'd be great.
Yep, gonna do that. I see no reason not to.
The hedge maze is a series of quite tall hedges that seem to block you off from the outside world once you go in. There are stone benches and fountains, and the occasional animal who comes around the corner, stray cat, that kind of thing. A paint the scene question. This is for everybody, but we're kind of describing Willoughby's journey through the hedge maze, but everyone gets to answer here what Willoughby sees. Unbeknownst to people entering it the first time, the hedge maze is designed to scare patrons. They don't tell you that when you go in. And what frightening displays do we see whenever Willoughby turns a corner?
You know that painting by Goya, Ugolino devours his children?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Cannibal. There's a halfway decently made sort of plaster made to look like marble statuette of that as you round a corner. So there's this cannibal like, ah.
Nice.
As I am confronted with that, I start to back up, and it's my mistake because as I continue backing, I run into a pair of hands that look like they've been thrust through
the hedge. Yeah, it's good.
One of the little cul-de-sacs is made up like a graveyard with portraits on the headstones, and one of the portrait, instead of a picture, it's actually a mirror. So when you're facing it, it looks like you.
That's good. Awesome. So once you kind of get into the hedge maze, at a certain point, there's no more fish heads. You're just kind of wandering out the hedge maze at this point. What's your sort of approach to the investigation? What do you do?
Well, this is a fairly well-trafficked area, one would imagine. People kind of come through here, or is it?
I would say it's if you feel surprisingly alone, like you feel quite a sense of isolation is pretty distinct here.
Is there any evidence that somebody might be, or something might be bedding down here in a remote corner or in an alcove of this hedge maze? Do I see any?
Make the information move with reason. And let me see if I think any of your conditions are in play here.
I think uneasy might actually...
Uneasy is almost certainly one. I would even go so far as to possibly say, like, one of the extra dimensional ones might be you might be getting a weird feeling just because you feel so isolated right now, so the silvery void might even be kind of like creeping in the back of your mind. But in any case,
your choice. I think it's a stretch.
I mean, either way, we just need one. So it's the only one is required to put you at disadvantage. So.
Oh, I thought you were stacking. I thought.
Oh, no. We only need one. They don't stack. So you're rolling a disadvantage unless you are using a personal quarters item, which would balance it out. But.
Yes, I should do that first. No, I think, well, no, I could probably use my directional lantern to get into some of the darker corners that might not, maybe something that's a little more overgrown.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, absolutely.
Then I'll check that.
Yeah, mark that and just roll 2 dice.
Flat. That is a 10.
Nice. What's your reason?
Oh,
1, push it at 11.
11.
You can bump it to a 12 if you want to get a mastermind clue, but otherwise I'll give you a regular clue.
I don't think. Oh, I'll take a mastermind clue. Yes, I will.
Mark your Janus mask.
Is this a reason for the Mask of Revelry, which is threat specific?
Yeah, there is the Mask of Revelry. You can mark that instead of your own. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have to, not everyone has to do it. I can just personally.
Yeah, you can just choose to mark. It's like just another mark that's available. There's only one, and you can take it if you want. So.
And then my second question is, I don't have to mark the Mask of the Future in order, correct?
No, you can choose those in any order. Yeah, but if you're going to mark the Mask of Revelry, you don't have to mark those at all. So
I think I will. I think I will mark the Mask of Revelry.
the Mask of Revelry is marked. Each hunter must narrate a flashback to the last truly fun day they had. Think on it for a bit. I'm going to come back to Dr. Tagore and Alexander. Alexander, post Turkish baths, where do you head?
I think the Society Obscura.
And Dr. Tagore, what about you?
I'm sorry, I was thinking about Mask of Revelry. What was the question?
Just what do you do after the Turkish baths?
Oh, yeah, I also think the Society Obscura. Although on the way, maybe slide by the neighborhood dog catcher to see if there's a way to bribe them to be at a certain location later tonight.
We can say you did that. I don't need the scene. That's good. Let's talk about the Society Obscura. It is a converted townhouse in Kensington. And the membership is large. There are lots of members. They're all uniformly wealthy and eccentric. But there are certain members that sort of like live there all the time. And those are probably be the people you're going to interact with most often. The thing about the Society Obscura is they have essentially done up the townhouse so that the rooms are all different like sets for like backdrops for photograph taking. And so there's a jungle room, an American West room, the Maharaja's Palace room, the Olympus room, the Astral Plane room, and perhaps others. But in any case, that's sort of the way they kind of set it up. It's like an artistic community, but it's also just a bunch of like strange, decadent, rich people, right? And so you are greeted. So what do you do once you get there? Do you like just walk right in, or do you knock, or what do you do?
Let me ask, were we delaying until Willoughby was joining us?
Willoughby can join whenever because of my person Friday. So.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he'd just walk right in. He's not a knocking kind of guy if he can avoid it.
Yeah, and the door's open. You don't have to like, you can just, someone will meet you in the entry hall, but it's otherwise kind of a quasi-public place. You are greeted at the entry hall by a young man who I would describe as very pretty. He is wearing like a sort of Tales of the Arabian Nights like kind of outfit with a little vest and like puffy pants, but they're like sheer, and he has like little bejeweled shoes on his feet, and he is dusting when you come in, and he says, "Oh, hello, how can I help you?"
I believe I was expected.
And he looks at you and says, he kind of looks you up and down and says, "Yes, I imagine wherever you go, sir, you are always expected."
I like you.
He says, "Many people do."
I have an appointment with the camera.
He says, "Oh, let me get Mrs. Abernathy. I'm sure she'd be happy to help you." He says, "In the meantime, can I get either of you a drink, a cigar, perhaps? I'm here to please in any way you fancy."
Indeed. A cigar.
And you, sir?
I wouldn't mind some tea if you've got something on hand.
He says, yes, tea, of course. How very British of you. And he says, I shall get Mrs. Abernathy and fetch the cigar and tea, and he goes off. He leaves you in the hall, like so many side characters do. They leave you in the entryway. What do you do?
I was going to say Alexander would wander innocently into another room.
You end up in, let's say you end up in the Maharaja's palace room. This is everybody, paint the scene. This room is wildly colorful, but the camera can never capture it. Describes something particularly vivid that people in the future will not be able to properly appreciate in sepia tones.
Just how much red is in the room? Everything, every pillow, every stitch of wallpaper, every curtain will just look monochromatic. They won't know.
And there's a patterning amongst all this red with just very faint differences in color that just would absolutely not be picked up on any camera at this time.
We'll say there are some color pairings that to our eyes are magnetic, like an acidic green against a more of that brilliant red, except in black and white, they're exactly the same tone of gray.
Very nice. And Dr. Tagore, what do you do?
My chances are one of those sort of ostentatious photos of all of our current members with little oval portraits of everybody and their
Sure.
name underneath.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a hierarchy within this? Like somebody's photo is a little larger?
Yes. The two photos at the top are of Portia Abernathy and Cyrus Abernathy, husband and wife, who are also the sort of head of the society.
Off the top of our head, do we know anything about either of them?
Alexander might know them from society things, but they are, for now, you can just know that they're like sort of, they're very like upper class and very eccentric.
I might just press into another room.
You end up in the jungle room. It's decorated to look like an overgrown jungle. Paint the scene. Do you find the decorations here surprisingly lifelike or hopelessly gaudy? And why?
With a stuffed
everybody gets
monkey
to
like
answer.
that, there's nothing but gaudy. Considering monkeys as far as the eye can see.
Drew or Sarah, anything to add?
All of the...
You're muted, Sarah.
I think there's also a phonograph in the corner that is playing a person's attempt to make jungle noises recorded, but it's very obviously a human voice going caw.
All of the plant life is all fake silk printed leaves, but it's all wrong. Like it's just whatever they had to make it look bushy and green.
Yeah, it's good. We'll come back to these two scenes. I want to cut over to Willoughby for a minute, give Willoughby the clues that Willoughby's entitled to. Let's see here. Creature of Cremwood Gardens. You said you were looking for like evidence of something like camping out there. And I think that's a good plan, especially if you think that the creature might be real. And so that is a good thing to look for. You will find a set of clothes for a man, hastily removed and chucked underneath the hedge. Like it looks like they were taken off in a hurry and chucked under the hedge in a hurry. I shall type that clue for you.
Excellent. I don't also find a shredded fish head mask underneath the clothes, right?
No, not
How
quite.
Scooby-Doo is this moment?
You also get you get a mastermind clue as well. Mastermind clue. Give me a moment.
Jason, I typed the hedge.
I did. I saw that. Thank you. You are wandering around the hedge when you overhear a conversation. It's a young woman and a young man. You can't really see them, but you can hear them on the other side of the maze, on the other side of the hedge. And the young woman says, well, of course, Mother lets me do whatever I want at Braithwaite Hall. I mean, she's always so busy with bribing parliamentarians and trying to dodge taxes. She doesn't really care too much what I get up to. And the young man says, what do you get up to, Toddy? And she says, well, let's just say that my taste for blood sport has expanded. The hunt no longer thrills me like it used to. I find that I need new prey, more dangerous game, if you know what I mean. And he says, Toddy Brathwaite, you can't really mean what I think you're saying. And she says, oh yes, I mean it. And that's the mastermind clue. Toddy Brathwaite looks like she might want to hunt people. And also is apparently the daughter of Theodora.
Doesn't look like, just sounds like she's murdering people.
Yeah. What do you do after you get your clues?
Oh, I don't know this hedge maze well enough to try and figure out if the daughter also has a signature color, because I'd love to be on the outside of the maze when they come walking out, but I don't know how to make that happen in this strategy. I was heading towards the bowling alley.
Okay.
So maybe trying to just weave my way out, maybe listening to their footsteps to see if maybe I get another glimpse, but mostly out and
yeah, I don't think you catch it. You don't catch a glimpse of Toddy Brathwaite or her companion, but you can make your way to the bowling alley. We've already done the paint the scene question there, which I think it was just like, how is it a little off, right? It's not like, it's kind of like to an American, it looks off, right? What do you do once you get there?
I would like to see if there is maybe a place to order food or like a kitchen window, or see who's working in the kitchens. Maybe see if there's fish on the menu.
Okay, yeah, they have a bar. They don't serve food at the bar. There's a banqueting hall where food is served in the evenings, but they can definitely serve you a beer.
I am not going to say no to that. It has been a very weird day.
You hear the crash of pins behind you and pin boys running back and forth to set them back up. And, proper Victorian ladies in large dresses, celebrating as their ball crashes into the pins, right? And the occasional cheer of good shot. Not that you make shots in bowling, but that's what they say. And that's all just kind of going on. Nothing particularly remarkable at this moment.
At some point, I will be chatting up the bartender, maybe between or as he's wiping down glasses, and introduce myself.
Mhm.
Say, I was curious. Well, frankly, I am curious about all things supernatural, trying to really put on airs about it,
Mhm.
but then leaning in and asking, what do you think of this creature?
Make information move with
Mm.
presence. You can make it at regular roll.
That is a 3. Plus 1 is 4.
4. We'll come back to that.
Mhm.
So, Alexander in the Maharaja's palace room. What do you do once you get in there?
I'm going to look for any sign that this was possibly the room that Ms. Levy was posing in.
Yeah, just like turning things over, or like what's your actions that you're taking?
I imagine that the room has like one wall, the fourth wall is like supplies and props and things. So I think you'd look through there for any of the weird plates that the camera uses.
Yeah, I love it. Make information move with reason.
My best stat. That's 4.
Couple of fun rolls on the table. Let's go to Dr. Tagore. What do you do in the jungle room?
Ooh. I had a question. Do we know anything about what it takes to become a member of the society?
Not yet, no.
All right. And then kind of similar to Drew's question, that photo we saw of Penelope Levy, could we see anything in the background that definitively said which room she was in?
I would say that the room is, if you look at the photograph, I'll just give you this for free. It's just very strange. It doesn't look like any particular like historical setting or anything like that. It's just lots of strange geometry, weird shapes, things like that.
All right. And then I'm assuming these are all to like tell you where I'm heading in 1 second. I'm assuming there's an upstairs level to the place, right?
There are several floors, yeah.
All right. And presumably maybe a dark room in the basement. I kind of want to poke around a bit. If I get caught, I've got an excuse, but I'm looking for the dark room.
As you come back out of the jungle room, you are met by the young houseboy and his mistress, Portia Abernathy. Mrs. Abernathy is, let's just describe her. She's wearing a semi-sheer black caftan. Her hair is braided to look like a crown. And she has a very like small, tight mouth painted with a bright red lip paint. And she says, "Hello, I'm Portia Abernathy. I am the head of the Society Obscura. Are you here to seek wisdom from the lens?"
I'm going to aim for a little bit of flattery and deliberately misidentify her as, say, Lady Abernathy.
He says, "She doesn't correct you."
I am so glad to make your acquaintance. I'm Dr. Tagore. I'm an anatomist, but also a bit of a chemist. And the more I learn about chemistry, the more I am amazed by the invention of photography, and I seek the wisdom that only photographs seem to be able to provide.
She says, "Yes, yes. I can tell that you are a seeker like us here at the Society Obscura, Dr. Tagore. The camera is so interesting. The camera first sees us, then it reveals us. And many people don't like what they see in the image because they know it is the truth. One cannot hide from the lens, no matter how hard one tries. I feel like it is a fortuitous thing that you should be here right now, Dr. Tagore. Perhaps you would like to join us at one of our formal gatherings tonight.
Absolutely, that sounds delightful. I have a companion. He's around here somewhere. I'm sure he would be interested as well. If you don't mind me introducing you to Mr. Gennarios, I think you'd enjoy his company.
She says, she turns to the houseboy, who, by the way, I should mention, is wearing a different costume. He is now dressed like kind of like Mowgli from the Jungle Book, right? Just a loincloth and a couple of some stripy paint on his cheeks. And she says, go get his name. She says, Periwinkle, will you go and find Dr. Tagore's companion, please? And Periwinkle bows and goes to find you, Mr. Gennadios. You have a 4 on the roll still. We'll come back to that in a moment. Let's take a 5-minute break. Willoughby, the barman at the American Bowling Saloon, says, yeah, I have some thoughts on the fish man. Here, come to the back, I'll tell you. I don't want to disturb any of the patrons. And he's going to take you to just sort of back area of the bowling saloon. Do you go with him?
Sure.
He goes back there, and behind this, in this room, there are great, huge barrels of ale kind of stacked up, right? And he leans against one of them, and this like stack of barrels, and it's kind of like pyramid stacked, you know. And he says, well, of course, it's all anyone can talk about. Even it's starting to have an impact on business, which Mr. Simpson is not happy about. And my theory on the whole thing is, and as he's like saying this, the barrels shift and collapse and crush him underneath. And then a woman you've never seen before steps out of the shadows. She's very tall. She has one arm, and she has in her hand a long hat pin. She says, you have to be really careful these days. Accidents can happen when you least expect it. I will cut over to Mr. Gennadios. Periwinkle comes in. He does have your cigar. And he says, oh, there you are, sir. And before he can get to you, someone comes out of the shadows and grabs him from behind. This person is also very tall and fits the description that Mr. Turner told you of Obertfig. He's wearing an apron. He has a thin, oily smile, and his arm that's not holding Periwinkle has a butcher's knife as long as your leg. And Obert says, something I find really fascinating about the Maharajas is they punished criminals by beheading. And he's sort of pushing Periwinkle closer to you into the center of the room. And Periwinkle is like freaking out. And Obert says, there, stop your grunting, little piglet. This will be over very quickly. And he pushes Periwinkle down to the ground and says, Hargrave House must cease its meddling into my family's affairs. What do you do, Mr. Jadius? Of course, Janus Mask is always available if you wish.
He's going to kind of his expression, which had been open and unpleasant upon seeing Periwinkle, it just goes dead, and he says, harm the boy, and I will spend the rest of my very considerable days destroying you and everything you love.
He says, depending on who you speak such words to, that is either a threat or a promise.
It can be both.
He says, I can carry out the sentence on this little piglet faster than you can stop me, Mr. Gennadios. I'm very, very fast with the knife. Willoughby, are you my person Fridaying here?
I would very much like to.
Give us the quick scene of like, what'd you do to get away from the woman who caused the barman to be crushed by barrels?
I saw family pictures in the
It's
residence.
La Hortensia. Yeah, it's her.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I just wanted to confirm that. So I would like to reach into my back pocket and just throw a bunch of her ticket stubs like a Victorian smoke bomb and flee.
She does react to that and gives you a moment to flee. And now you're going to appear at the Society Obscura with something you need that would help in this moment. What is it?
As I am running, I run past one of the test your strength sort of stations, and I just, as I'm running, grabbing the mallet on my way.
Because presumably you're realizing the figs are
Everywhere.
ensnaring.
I
They're
have
everywhere.
to
Yeah,
get
they're
to
getting
Mr.
you.
Gennadios as soon as possible.
I love it. I think this is a great moment. I want to cut back to Dr. Tagore and Portia for a minute, though. She's taking you somewhere else in the house, right? Like, so you don't know about any of this, Dr. Tagore. And she's got her arm in yours, and she says, "Have you met my husband, Cyrus?"
No, I haven't had the pleasure.
Oh, well, he's just in here. Let's go. Let's go meet him. He loves nothing more than meeting people who are interested in photography. It's such a fascinating new science, don't you think?
Absolutely, it's groundbreaking. It's changed. Like painting at this point is dead. Ugh.
She's like, yes, that's what I always say. A painting can never properly capture the true essence of the subject. It's impossible. She takes you into a room, a strange room. This is the astral plane room. It's painted in dreamy grays and silvers. This is definitely out of character, like, because I don't think these are things that your characters would understand. But as a paint the scene, there are objects arranged all over that seem to be from another world or time. Describe one.
I wonder if there isn't a similar mural of mysterious suns.
I like it.
There is a large egg with a mirrored surface.
It's good.
Nice callback. I'm picturing something akin to an hourglass, perhaps too elongated, but the silvery sands are trickling upwards.
Nice. She takes you to this room, and inside the room, there is a man who is wearing a very form-fitting white bodysuit, tight in all the right places, with silver cords wrapped around the arms, legs, and neck. And when he stands up to greet you both, he seems to stare like past you, like he's looking at you, but his gaze feels like it's somewhere else. And he says, "Hello, I'm Cyrus Abernathy. I run the Society Obscura with my wife. And who are you, sir?" Portia will make an introduction for you.
Oh, thank you.
And then he'll say, "Well, splendid. You have to join us at our fete tonight, Dr. Tagore."
I would be happy to. I really think as much as you'll enjoy my company and knowledge and what I might contribute, my colleague in the other room is even more esteemed and more experienced in the realm of photography, and you really need to see his collection of work. I think you'd quite enjoy it.
Portia says, "Periwinkle will be along with him soon enough. Don't worry." And they're kind of flanking you at this point, Dr. Tagore.
Mm-hmm.
And Cyrus says, "Dr. Tagore, are you the kind of person who likes to engage in daring, perhaps even risque new experiences?"
Generally speaking, with a certain degree of caution for society and appearances.
Portia says, "We have no concern for the judgments of society in this place, Dr. Tagore. We care only to reveal the truth."
Show me some examples. I'm curious what truths you've discovered thus far.
Cyrus takes a photograph that he has handy, and he says, "I like to imagine a photograph is like a little pocket dimension, a tiny world parallel to our own. Do you believe in parallel worlds, Dr. Tagore?"
I've read about them. The math is there. It's sound. I just have no personal experience.
I believe in them. Parallel worlds, parallel threads in time. For example, the primordial past of this world, the time before there was light, it is still with us. It floats alongside us. Someday it may even call out to us. I think it wants to. In these pictures, you can see in the shadows, in the darkness, you can see the primordial darkness there. It's darker in places. And he's sort of pointing at various things in this photograph. And he says, "Do you sometimes feel that you find that the light in a room is hiding something more than it's illuminating something, Dr. Tagore?"
That knowledge from shadows. I've seen a bit of that. Had a recent bad spade in a cistern, if you couldn't believe such a tale, not too far from here, where the shadows seem to have more to offer than the light did.
Portia says, "I often find that to be the case. I think she'll make a splendid dinner guest. We shall look forward to seeing you and your friend at our fete tonight."
What equipment are you using to record these? Because my knowledge of photography is that the shadows don't cast on the plate. The silver nitrate just can't accept the image.
We have very special equipment here at the Society Obscura, Dr. Tagore.
Well, I would love to see that. Can you show me?
Perhaps tonight. Meanwhile, Willoughby, you show up in the Maharaja's palace room with a hammer. You have burst into the room. Obert is there. You see your fears are confirmed. You see Obert with his knife. He's about to behead this young boy who looks like he's like Mowgli. And what do you do?
He's pushed this boy onto the floor, so he's kind of in a like just about to.
He's kind of yeah.
I think I just wind up like a huge cricket stroke and just like take a swing at his head.
I love it. Take a
like all the way, like I link my fingers and I get all the way above my head.
This will be day move. Per the rules of the game, you can't knock him out or capture him. He will get away, but you can stop this from happening.
I am hoping to save the boy.
Yeah. What are you afraid will happen if you fail?
I miss and I will be the one who is sacrificed, little piggy.
Harsh. Go ahead and roll with vitality and take it with 3 dice. If you mark the hammer, you get to add the hammer to your personal quarters, and if you mark it, you get 3 dice.
I marked it. I don't want to miss.
Okay.
Advantage gives me an 8 plus vitality, you said?
Yep.
0, so an 8.
Per the day move, I will tell you how you will be vulnerable in this scene. You can tell me if you want to go through with it. So the vulnerability is quite simply that you'll succeed, but on the way out, he will manage to get a slice at you with the blade, and it'll give you a condition. So if you are okay with that, you can press forward, or you can mark Janus Mass to get a clean shot.
Jason, can you remind me? I think Sarah's at Willoughby's at 3 conditions right now.
Was going to be my exact question.
So
Take a fork, what happens?
That it will replace one, and you have to mark the Janus Mask. So you have to mark the Janus Mask regardless. So if you want to mark it just to get a 10, you can do that.
I think that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. It sort of forces the issue. Or you can back out and try something different as well. So you have the option of the day move to do a different action.
No, I will press forward and mark my mask.
Okay. Go ahead and mark your mask. And you have, there is a mask available at this one that is not, or that is a general mask, I think. Oh, no, there's not. This doesn't have a mask. My bad. So it's just mask of the past or future. And you succeed. Describe how you rescue the boy.
I
catch. The young man.
I catch. What's this brother's name?
Obert.
I catch him in the cheekbone, and you just hear that like sickening crunch, and then he does his best to, with this concussion, make his way back into the shadows from whence he came.
Nice, I love it. Yeah, he'll run. He just runs away out of the house, out of the Maharaja's palace room, out of the Society Obscura, leaving the 2 of you there. Alexander, you can pick up the scene if you want, or the 3 of you.
I'm breathing very heavily, and I go ahead and pick up the cigar off the floor. I'm going to light it and perhaps look a little too closely into Alexander's eyes as I do so, then hand it back to him. That was a close one.
As ever, your appearance is most fortuitous. And he will take the cigar and leave it out of his mouth as he goes to help the boy up.
Periwinkle says, "Oh, thank you. I thought for sure that was the end of it for me, but it would have been a spectacular photograph, don't you think?"
Actually, yes, I do.
This is, my employers, they wanted to invite you to a dinner tonight with Dr. Tagore.
Well, that sounds lovely.
Wouldn't miss it for the world.
He smiles, and we'll cut the day phase there and go to dusk. Go to our little tracker here. Resolve any playbook moves or custom moves that are resolved during the dusk phase. Dr. DeGore, you have quite a few options now to deal with in the dusk phase, because you have to decide if you want to get the resurrectionists involved or if you want to do the night work. So
either or,
both.
correct?
Well, not necessarily, because you can get the resurrectionists involved and just have them do things on their own, right? That you don't have to deal with. They just report back to you afterwards.
Yeah, I think I will have them do some work. Give me 1 second to double check, but I think it's going to be dig up body parts.
Yeah, we'll read it just for people watching the video. A gang of grave robbers led by a man called Harley White is loyal to you. Each dusk phase, pick 2. Actually, you do this every dusk phase. Pick 2. The grave robbers will dig up corpses that night. During the dawn phase, you acquire a body part for the child. The grave robbers will search for other valuables that night. During the dawn phase, ask another hunter what they found and add it to your personal quarters. A grave robber, either Harley or another, name them, will accompany you during the upcoming night phase. You do take the condition ghoulish, but any roles associated with actions that they're helping you with are taken advantage. And the last option is you'll face no blowback or complications from any criminal activities the grave robbers get up to that night. If you don't choose that, you can expect that there will be repercussions for any criminal activities they get up to that night.
Oh, interesting. So without choosing that second option, anytime they're doing criminal stuff, there will be blowback.
It's an invitation for me. Like, if you don't pick it, it's almost like me. It's permission for me to be like, okay, well, then there are going to be implications for if they do anything criminal. But if you don't mind risking that, you could pick you can pick another thing, of course.
All right. Well, let's for sure dig up some corpses. I want some more body parts for this child.
Okay.
For the other action, well, let's keep it simple and just face no blowback or complications.
What'd you say? Say that again.
For the moment, we'll keep it simple and choose the final option of facing no blowback or complications, so that it should be a pretty clean maneuver.
A free body part during the dawn. That's great. And then, do you want to do night work?
I think I have a party to attend.
You got a party to go to. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, good point. Okay, so then let's keep going. Are there any other, at this point, do we have any other moves that are in play? Unquenchable Thirst. Is that a dusk move? I don't think it matters anyway. And yeah, so great. Paint the scene question. Ooh, let's do... Let's do the ballroom. You're all in the ballroom for this dusk phase. And here's our question. Hargrave House once hosted a ball for a group of visitors from the Fey realm. Even today, there are subtle reminders of that night in this room. What are they?
There are, instead of candlelight, you will see brief flashes, almost like firefly candlelight, flicker throughout the room.
Every surface that they sat on or touched has a very slight shimmer in the right light that doesn't seem to wash off or rub off at all.
And if you open the windows or the patio doors, regardless of weather outside, a summer breeze is blowing in with sort of a smell of magnolias.
Love it. Let's go ahead and everybody state what you're going to be doing tonight. Is everybody going to the Society Obscura? Okay, that's easy. Then Janus Mask prompts. Everybody needs to do the Mask of Revelry. Narrate a flashback to the last truly fun day your hunter had. I don't imagine these characters having fun ever, but I guess there was at least one time.
That's what I like about it as a prompt, honestly. Mine, I think, was aboard the ship from India to England. There wasn't, I just was on the deck, kind of sunning my feet in the breeze and the sunlight, and sitting on one of those little reclining chairs with absolutely nothing to do. And I loved the hell out of it, even though as soon as we landed, I was too driven with my work to ever think back on, hey, maybe it'd be great to take a break once in a while. But looking back on it, I was very happy on that ship at that moment.
Willoughby is the type of person who likes to make their own fun. And so the last truly fun day that they had was 2 weeks ago, when, as they were doing the shopping and everything for Hargrave House, they just had an itch and started to steal little things from the stalls and the shops, and then start to plant them on other people, and then watch as the chaos ensued and I went about my groceries.
Alexander was at a tavern with some friends, and there was a disagreement about the bill, and it started small, but the fight just escalated and escalated until it was just a full-on brawl. And that was where Alexander discovered he really likes punching people. He never did things like that. He was always too concerned about his appearance and would not fight. But sadly, his friend Christopher Marlowe died that day. But he had a great time.
Fabulous. Willoughby, didn't you mark the mask, another mask thing as well?
Yes, but I marked the cosmic passage. I did Mask of the Future. I don't think I narrate.
Increase your sensitivity by 1 and reduce your reason by 2.
Yes. So I now have a +0 to reason, which will be interesting.
Yeah, indeed. Good. And having the cosmic passage marked is a big deal. It changes, so much of the game is affected by it.
Considering how spooked Willoughby is in general, I felt like it was the right moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And then finally, the unseen. Let's talk about the unseen for this nighttime. Let me pick one. I'm running two series right now of this, so I'm trying to remember which ones I don't want to like mix them up. Did we do the tarot card reading yet? I don't think we did that one yet. I don't think we did. The tarot card reading of Ms. Lydia Wainwright. It's at the top, it's the second one. Lydia Wainwright is a young woman of 19, born into a respectable family. Her mother has commanded her to marry Edgar Thornton, the son of a wealthy industrialist, but her heart belongs to Samuel, a poor but very handsome chimney sweep. Lydia has snuck off in the night to the home of a fortune teller, seeking guidance on the matter. The first is a paint the scene that everybody will do. And then I'll assign the last 3 here. We'll do Drew, Sarah, Brian. And it's a little early for our second break, but I think I want to go ahead and just take it now so you all have a minute to think about your unseen. We'll take a quick one, like 3 minutes. The tarot card reading of Miss Lydia Wainwright. Paint the scene. As Lydia enters the home of the fortune teller, what do we see that shows this place has real magic?
There is plenty of light in portions of the room, but Lydia doesn't see any candles.
I think the crystal ball in the center of the table legitimately shows things that don't reflect the room.
And as you climb the stairs to enter, each footfall on the riser, there's voices that emanate, but the voices are different and they know things about you. As you're climbing, you hear facts about yourself.
Very nice. Night phase. You arrive at the Society Obscura with no troubles. You are invited in. The evening's dinner is going to take place in the Olympus room. The other guests and the Abernathys are all wearing togas and olive branch crowns and things like that, grapevine laurels, that sort of thing. Periwinkle is dressed up like a fawn. He has fur pants on, and he's wearing high-heeled shoes that look like hooves and little horns on his head. The Olympus room is decorated to look like a scene from Greek myth, perhaps of interest to you, Alexander. A paint the scene question, only applicable if at least one of you has the cosmic passage marked and two of you do. The Greek pantheon is actually watching you in this room right now. How do you know it?
A soft peal of thunder that only we can hear.
There is an owl that hoots from outside, sort of punctuating statements as people speak, almost like, hear, hear, kind of voice from the owl.
The wine that we thought was just normal wine actually tastes very sweet and just heavenly.
Alexander, I'm curious about how you feel about the trappings of the evening, given your history that we know about you.
I think knowing what to expect, he's arrived in kind of a very showy, being Alexander, but it's a toga. He has fake wings strapped to the back of it. He has a half mask with wings coming off to the sides. He is giving hypnos fantasy here and just leaning right into the theatricality of it all.
Dr. Tagore, have you come in appropriate dress, or are you just dressed like Dr. Tagore?
Goodness. I feel like I tried to dress in party fashion by putting on a cravat that was rather colorful, and that was as far as I got. Like I just had nothing more in my wardrobe to lean on.
Portia will come up to you. She's wearing a sort of like a translucent toga is the best way to describe it. But it's longer. It's more of a gown, really. And she says, Dr. Tagore, I can find something a little more festive for you to wear if you'd like. I'm sure Periwinkle will be happy to help you change.
I am all about a scene in a changing room with Periwinkle. Let's do it. So yes, I'd be happy to change into something more appropriate for the party.
And Periwinkle will show you to a side room where you can get changed, and he'll be with you in a moment. Willoughby, how have you come dressed for the affair? And are you just there to stand in the background, or are you participating?
I feel like I will stick fairly close to Alexander. The last time we got separated with that awful Braithwaite woman was quite a terrible evening all round. So I have come in fashion, just a circlet, and then the toga falls from it. Just a little bit more of a style tweak, not the over the shoulder, but generally also with the leaves and the hair and all that too.
I love it. That's great. Very good. You meet various members of the Society Obscura. They are all from a variety of different backgrounds. The main thing that unites them is that they have an almost spiritual fascination with photography. They're also just eccentric rich people, but you meet Lourdes and Julia and Pierre and Mads and Milos and Caroline, various characters, all there, sort of draped on the scenery, eating and drinking, talking about the next composition they're going to do, perhaps tonight's composition, and so forth. Let's go to Ms. Lydia Wainwright. Drew, the first two cards drawn in Ms. Wainwright's 5-card spread are the Lovers and the Ace of Wands, the latter of which is typically associated with passion. Speaking in the voice of the fortune teller, begin telling Lydia what you see in the cards vis-a-vis her predicament in love.
She leans over the cards, waving her fingers over, and looks up sharply and says, "Ah, you've come about love. You seek an answer to a question about a choice regarding love. And this card, this Ace of Wands, says passion is high. This is an emerging love, but as it's reversed, it can also indicate distraction from where you are meant to go."
I like it. Let's lean into passion, Dr. Tagore. Periwinkle leaves you in this little changing room, and he returns. He's no longer dressed as a faun. He is now dressed in a very, very short toga with a very, very plunging neckline. It's just a couple of strips of cloth and a rope holding it in place. And he comes into the room and he says, "I'd be happy to help you, Dr. Tagore." And he has various things in his arms.
What are my options for attire? What do you recommend, Periwinkle? You seem to have such a great taste in clothing and such a variety. I defer to your youthful wisdom here.
He says, "When we think about the ancient Greeks, I think less is more is the right approach."
Sophomoric is, as a word, rooted in both foolishness and wisdom, and I feel like you are at exactly that stage right here. What you say is a bit foolish, but perhaps there's wisdom in this moment.
And he smiles and says, he smiles and says, "What an interesting vocabulary you have, Dr. Tagore. The words that come out of your mouth are most amusing. I'm sure the society will find them so." And he begins to undo your cravat, unbutton your shirt, and so forth. While he's helping you get dressed, is there anything you're doing in this little side room? Keeping an eye out for anything, or just letting this moment happen?
Well, I'm regretting on the what do they call it? The dawn questions, not choosing the one about secretly going at odds with my, what was it?
You can
secretly
change.
engaging in romantic or emotional behavior.
You can change it if you want. Change it, it's fine.
What do I want to do here? Periwinkle, may I borrow that rope?
That's barely holding his toga together.
Exactly. Barely holding it, I feel like I need that to complete my attire.
He says, "Of course," and he undoes it, causing the robe to spill open. and we shall just let our imaginations run wild at that moment. Alexander, what are you doing in the meantime?
He's going to be talking to people, but mostly he wants to be seen. He wants to bask in the attention, especially given how shaken he was by being considered not special. So, yeah.
Do you have any worshipers here?
You mentioned a Milosh.
Milosh, yeah.
That sounds appropriate.
Sounds sufficiently Greek, right? Yeah, you can have we can have Milosh be there if you want to name him a worshiper. How does Milosh subtly debase himself in the scene?
When I walk in the room, everyone else is there's a lot of eyes on Alexander, but Milosh drops what he's holding. The goblet of wine clatters to the floor, and he just falls to his knees. And everyone's like, "Are you okay?" But he is just, all he sees is Alexander.
Portia says, "It seems we have been joined by one of the gods here on Mount Olympus," as she takes a sip from her wine. Willoughby, what are you doing right now?
That's an excellent question. I have been putting together my own suspicions about my employer. And so now whenever he walks into a room, I am just behind his shoulder and I am watching to see the reactions of how he seems to be affecting others. And I wonder if I notice anything, side conversations, ignoring him, or out of the ordinary in the crowd.
Are you hoping to learn something about the Whateley Camera during this?
I am hoping to find a target in which I could ask some very pointed questions about a camera, yes.
I like that. We'll take it as the information move for now. Make it with reason. No. Yeah, reason.
I have no longer a bonus, but I did get an 8.
We will talk about that in a moment. No, I'll get it now. We can look at the clue list.
There seems like there's somebody setting up, maybe, or if I see some sort of preparations, right?
Yeah. You overhear two characters,
Constantly eavesdropping my character today.
two partygoers. You overhear them, but you can't understand what they're saying because they're speaking in a dead language.
Sexy.
And that's your clue. Two characters of the Society Obscura speaking in a dead language. Alexander, once you have identified this worshiper, or once they've identified themselves, what do you do?
There will be a time where he will just make brief eye contact with the man. He wants to stretch this out, deny him as much, for as long as he can. And then finally, when there's no conceivable way to avoid interacting with him, he'll approach and say simply, "The camera, is it here?"
That feels like the good place to cut. Let's go to the tarot card reading of Ms. Lydia. This is for Sarah. The next two cards drawn are the Five of Swords, typically associated with violence, and the Fool, which represents the beginning of a journey. Continue the reading.
I sense your hesitation. And it's likely, no matter what option you choose, there will be abrupt change and potentially harm come to you. But if you make the correct choice, it is likely that you will find new beginnings.
Dr. Tagore, after your encounter with Periwinkle, he will leave you there in this side room, which is kind of in a hallway, like across a hall from the Olympus room. So you kind of have the run of the place a little bit because everyone just thinks you're getting changed. What do you do?
Pause for a moment to wipe off the sweat, and I'm slipping away. My thought would be the dark room would be below ground, or in a room with a window papered over with red paper to provide a kind of an early safe light. The camera itself wouldn't be in that room. The camera is probably upstairs. And so if I can pitter patter away upstairs, I want to go look for the camera.
Yeah, I think that's great. Take just a general sort of information move for now with reason, kind of keeping an eye out, looking around for the camera. Let me take a look at your conditions too and see if any of those might apply to the situation. No, I don't think so. Go ahead.
So it's an 8.
8. So you have a complication on yours as well. You go upstairs and you are immediately distracted because in one of the hallways, in the hallway on the second floor, they have an albino peacock in a crystal cage just sitting there.
Who came? Is that you?
Yeah, exactly. That is your clue, though. An albino peacock in a crystal cage. And the complication, or let me read the moves so I know exactly how I have to do this. I forget sometimes. A complication either with the clue itself or a complication you encounter while searching. Okay, good. Well, let's do while searching. So you are up there poking around when you hear Cyrus's voice behind you. Dr. Tagore, I was wondering where you got off to.
I'm gonna unhitch some part of my garment so it flaps a little loose and say, I've lost Periwinkle. I need some help fastening this.
When you turn around, you will see that Cyrus Abernathy, his body has been rubbed with silver paint, and he is quite naked, not totally naked, but very close. And he's wearing a mask in the shape of a crescent moon. He says, "We all get a little lost from time to time, Dr. Tagore. We all, from time to time, find that we need help. I think we can help you, Dr. Tagore. You are a seeker. There's something that you want, something you're trying to accomplish, something truly great. And I think there are wisdom in the stars that can help you unlock the mysteries you probe."
I missed that last word.
To unlock the mysteries that you probe.
Probe. Thank you. So you look ready to model for a photo.
Yes, I am in a sort of gender-swapped presentation of the goddess Hecate.
Where's the camera? Let me, trigger the shutter for you. Let me.
There's time enough for the camera later, Dr. Tagore. Why don't you join us now? And he takes you by the arm downstairs. He'll adjust whatever was wrong with your costume and bring you downstairs. Where are we at? Willoughby, after you hear this conversation, what do you do? The complication was just that you can't understand what they're saying.
Sure. I'd like to think that I could have a word or two, like maybe the first 2 words I could emulate again. I remember the syllables enough. I might go over to Alexander and maybe whisper into my employer's ear, "Does this sound familiar to you?"
Alexander, it does not. It is a language so old, even you don't know it.
he'll just shake his head and give Willoughby a sharp look and turn back to Milos and move in a little closer.
Mhm. At that, I suppose I might try to fade towards the edges of the room and then eventually find my way out into a hallway.
Indeed. Alexander, how do you feel upon hearing, maybe you'll even overhear those people speaking in this language that you are not familiar with? A rare circumstance, I imagine, for you, maybe even unheard of.
Yeah, that would definitely seem very odd. And he might kind of take Milos by the arm and try and steer him closer.
Yeah. Milos says, "My lord, what's the matter? You seem confused about something."
The tongue that they speak in, it's unfamiliar to me.
He says, "That is because it is the language of the camera you have asked me about, sir."
And I think he'll lean in again, just very, very much in this man's personal space. And he'll say, "Speak it to me."
And let me take a look at Giveth to make sure I'm conforming to the move here a little bit. Oh, if you make a gift of something from your personal quarters, he'll do exactly as you say, no questions asked, up to and including destroying himself. You did roll information move, yes, or did you just ask the question?
I just asked the
You
question.
just asked the question. If you demand information, it may come in the form of a clue at the keeper's discretion. He says, "My lord, I will tell you anything you want to know, but please, I beg of you, bless me with a token of your favor."
He will, I think he'll gesture to Willoughby, if Willoughby is around, and say, just under his breath, "That mask of mine, you brought it, yes?"
Of course, I must. I must have. Yes, it's right here.
Which mask is this?
The wooden mask of Sally No Face.
Oh, good.
And he will.
He takes the mask. It's with reverence. I mean, he takes it and he's holding it like it's a holy object, and he says, "Let us go somewhere else, and I will tell you what I know." And he will leave the Olympus room.
Alexander will follow.
Let's go to the final part of the tarot card reading. Brian, the last card drawn is the Devil, representing the seduction of the material world and other earthly pleasures. Continue the reading and tell Lydia definitively what she must do.
Oh, sweetie, it's the devil. You can't put this aside. You have to handle it. You have to deal with it. There's no ignoring it. This Edgar, this industrialist you love.
Well, no, she loves Samuel.
Or, I'm sorry.
She's been commanded to marry Edgar.
Sorry, yeah. This industrialist that your mother insists upon. He's just chains made of iron that will weigh you down. You're a lighter being than that. But a chimney sweep uses a rope, like a golden cord. I think there's a way you might use that cord to deal with your mother in a way that provides you freedom. Be discreet. That's all I have to say.
I imagine we have to say that the camera pans over to Lydia, showing her face blanched in terror. And we go back to the Society Obscura. Dr. Tagore, once you are led back to the Olympus room by Cyrus, what do? Portia comes up to you and says, Dr. Tagore, you look positively Hellenic. She compliments you on your Hellenic dress, Dr. Tagore. What do?
Sorry, I was typing a note on the.
Oh, sorry.
On
When you came back
on
into the
table, like,
Olympus, when you came back to the Olympus room, Portia congratulated you on your Hellenistic attire.
Yes. It's a transformation for me. It's certainly not what I'm accustomed to, but I seek knowledge, and if this is the path, then away we go.
You are a man of science, Portia says. I suspect, as a man of reason and logic, you do not often let your conscious mind roam free, but you have roamed tonight.
I glance around and
can
look for
see it in your
Periwinkle.
eyes. You have certainly roamed, and you will continue to roam with us at the Society Obscura. And she takes your hand and leads you away from Cyrus to a few partygoers. What do? Anything? Or you just lean into the moment?
Your husband seemed primed for a photo opportunity. Like, it seems like this is a right moment for us to witness a photograph that it shows the power and the potential of this new medium. Maybe you can bring us all together and we can witness the event itself.
She says, yes, we shall. We shall come up with a fascinating new composition before the night is over. We like to cap things off by taking a photograph to commemorate the evening's festivities. Of course, we have so many cameras to choose from here at the Society Obscura. Alexander, Milosh says to you, there is a process by which the being inside the Whateley Camera is roused and shows its true power, and indeed pulls people into its own dimension. The process is something that is spoken to us in a dream, but we always forget shortly thereafter. We have but fragments, little bits of clues and effluvia related to the process. We cannot often put it all together. I don't suspect we'll be able to put it all together tonight, but I shall give you a fragment that I can recall. Or rather, I shall show you. And he takes you to the astral plane room. And on a little table, there's a small pyramid made of brass. He says, touch it, my lord.
He will hesitate only for a moment before just placing his hand flat on one of the sides.
When you touch the pyramid, it's warm to the touch. He says, I don't know the meaning of it, but I know it's important in causing the camera's true power to manifest. Willoughby, what are you doing in the meantime?
I had been making my way out of the room, so when I see Alexander go off, I think I probably would have trailed behind them a good, like just around each corner. And now I'd be standing outside of the astral room. half century, half waiting for somebody to shrink, as I do.
Indeed. I think while you're hanging out in the hallway, give me a moment. While you're out in the hallway, you are looking into a mirror across the way, and you see yourself in the mirror. And behind you, the scene is much darker than it actually is in real life. It's just shadow. But then the shadow begins to peel away, almost like a substance that is on water and then splits when oil or something is dropped on it, right? The shadow just dissolves away. And behind you, there is a silvery void. And a set of thick, oily tentacles comes out from behind the silvery void and embraces you. You don't see them on you, just in the mirror, but you can feel the tightness, you can feel the slickness, and you can feel the distinct sensation of something watching you, holding you. Make the night move. What are you scared will happen if you lose your nerve here?
Just all kinds of stuff. I immediately remember the sensation of almost not being. That existential dread is still very fresh in my mind, and what scares me most.
I think it's worse than that.
Of course you do.
You will, yeah, I think that the existential dread is a good one. That's I don't know how it gets much worse than that, except that I think that it will be so bad that this whole place never was. The Society Obscura disappears into the void of nothingness. Roll with sensitivity, please, and take it at disadvantage.
Can I have any sort of object in a night move to help me out if I can figure it out?
If you can work it in there, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I have a mannequin, and as I am being embraced by these tentacles, I want to try and see if I can't use some of my sensitivity to project these tentacles onto a different body and sort of remove myself from their grasp.
So presumably you didn't bring the mannequin to the party. So is this
no, that's probably true. I didn't whip it out underneath my toga, did I?
So is it maybe but maybe we could say at Hargrave House or something, or I don't know.
That was a question I had, is can these items be at Hargrave House and the thing happens to the item, or
if you
that's
can,
nice.
I mean, if you can justify it, if you say, kind of describe what would really happen instead, I guess.
Alternately, you've got a jeweled cigarette case. Maybe you can reflect light from the inside of that cigarette case as you pull out a cigarette.
That only works for witches.
Yeah, the mannequin will be tricky unless you can think of what would be the justification.
Why would I have brought it?
Yeah, or what would be the justification for the creature somehow reaching at the mannequin halfway across town, right? So It's a little
Actually,
tenuous.
I've got a maybe thought for that.
Okay, go for it. If Sarah's
I
open
picture
to it.
Willoughby as basically wearing the same clothing every single day of the week.
Oh, good. Yeah.
The mannequin has your duplicate set that's clean, just in case.
Ah,
And rather than the slime and ooze kind of caressing this attire, it caresses the other attire.
Like it's tricked or something. Yeah, I like
Mhm.
that. That's pretty good. I'm into it. So make a flat roll, just 2d6 plus sensitivity.
Thank you.
Mark it, of course. Mark the mannequin.
Yes. And I have a 6 plus 2.
It's
I have an 8.
now.
I have an 8.
You do have an 8, indeed. You're in the same position. I'm giving you a condition again, but you can just, which will force you to mark Janus Mass, but you can just mark Janus Mass to bump it to a 10. So
I really feel like I should do that. I don't want to have anything to do with these tentacles.
go ahead and describe how you safely keep your calm in this situation, and if the situation goes away.
I close my eyes because I can only see in the mirror what is happening to me. I focus instead on the sensation that I am feeling in my own skin. And I reach out with my senses to try and evade this interference by essentially projecting my consciousness and imagining that I am standing in my own clothes in the attic in Hargrave House where the mannequin is instead. And I picture that so clearly in my mind as to almost believe it. And then hopefully, as do these silvery tentacles.
I like it. So when you get home tonight, the mannequin will have the evidence that it worked. Yeah.
I have to wash everything again.
Indeed. Otherwise, the mirror image goes back to normal. You feel fine. Maybe a little, your breath is a little short, perhaps, but you're good. Any little last minute things before we end the night phase? I kind of left Dr. Tagore and Willoughby sort of in a sort of middle sort of zone. We can end it here, but if you have any other thoughts.
I think Alexander will, maybe while Willoughby was still in earshot, he'll approach Milos and say, "For sharing your dreams, I will give you a new one." And he'll just embrace him and kiss him deeply.
Oh my, good. Dr. Tagore, anything at the end there as you're partying with Portia and Cyrus and the others?
Just a question of, is the party ending as well as the night phase, or
no, just the night phase. No, the party could still be going, and maybe there will be a photograph taken, but
right,
we'll just see.
That's what I'm like. Where's this photo?
I think it'll be happening off screen. So it's not the Whateley camera that they're going to use. So we can all just let our imaginations run wild.
Yeah.
Maybe you can even describe the composition right now here at the end if you want.
I can. Indoors, the sort of lighting wet plate. We need one of those flash pens, the things to illuminate the subject, and even then, half of us are still going to be blurred by like blinking at the wrong time or turning our head at the wrong moment. So that's kind of what I see as a picture that's the party, except that there are areas that are almost smudged by motion blur that are slightly out of focus, so that it's sort of a half record of the event.
Good. Let's go straight to the dawn. No threat was resolved, so there's no rewards, but we can answer dawn questions. So let's start with Mr. Gennadios.
We did answer a question.
You did answer a question, so go ahead and get XP for that one. Did you resolve a threat? No. Did you experience an echo in the night, Mr. Gennadios?
Was going for that with choosing Milos over Willoughby, despite Willoughby's known interest.
Oh, I see. Like a thematic connection. That's good. Yeah, I'm into it. Go ahead and mark that. Did you appear in London society wearing risque or avant-garde fashion? I don't think it was risque or avant-garde for this gathering. It's the part of the problem. Did you express a clear preference for the beautiful over the mundane?
Once again, he rushed to Periwinkle's aid and kind of snubbed Willoughby.
Yes. Yeah, I did note, I noted that it was distinct. I'm into it. So you got 3 XP. Good job. Let's go to Dr. Tagore. Answer a question, yes. Did you experience an echo in the night, Dr. Tagore? Oh, the
Aim for
rope.
with the rope, the sash. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have a conversation with a child? I don't think so. Did you secretly engage in romantic or yes, you
Oh,
did.
yeah.
So you've got 3 experience as well. And Willoughby. Question, yes. Did you experience an echo in the night, Willoughby? Oh, you're muted, Sarah.
No, but had we ever gotten into the astral room, I was going to tie in that light from coming from nowhere, but c'est la vie.
C'est la vie. Did you engage in a petty reprisal of someone who angered your employer?
No, and I don't think that I ensured my employer got any credit for my own personal triumphs.
Yeah, it was a bit, yeah.
I was on my own. He was snubbing me all day. It just.
But you got 1 XP, so go ahead and mark that. And then, very, very good. You get to do, I think we have some moves though that get resolved. We'll go ahead and mark new elective dawn questions if you all want. And then resolve any playbook or custom moves. You have a move, do you not, Willoughby?
Yeah.
Memory is the servant.
I could claim an object from the
Indeed.
previous night. And just so many options. How well do I have to narrate this? Because stealing a mirror off somebody else's wall and getting it out of the party.
Yeah, you can totally take it.
I'm absolutely taking it.
At a certain point, they're so drunk, they're not even going to notice, right?
Yes. They're all in togas. They're obviously going to get drunk.
If you keep it, you can add it to your personal quarters, or you can give it away and mark XP.
At the moment, I'm going to keep it.
Okay.
I am confused.
The Society Obscura mirror, then, Brian?
Yeah, I had a question. The resurrectionists, is dawn the time when the body parts are delivered?
Yep, that's what we're doing right now. The moves that are resolved during the dawn phase. So yes, that would be the resurrectionists. So what'd they bring you?
I kind of want to go somewhat comedic here because I still don't have a torso.
Okay.
And I'm picturing this being their first maneuver for me, that they show up with genitalia. And I'm like, I don't even have a torso to attach this to. Oh my goodness, I know it was easy to carry, but I need discretion, but I need large objects delivered discreetly before we can move on to the finer details. Gentlemen, please, if you will.
You are normally supposed to share a memory of your sister whenever this happens, but I will let you skip it this time if you wish, just because it's a little weird.
It's a little weird, yeah.
Unless you have something that's not weird.
You could play out something simple in the societal sense of gender roles in Bengal, and the idea of like son versus daughter, and how the parents had higher hopes for one, and kind of a vague allusion to.
I'm into it. What do you got?
I think that absent societal pressures, my sister would have been the better one of the two of us. And that because of those circumstances that, I was sort of the scion heading off to do this big career, blah, blah, blah. And that me recreating her is trying to give her a second chance, to give her the chance that she didn't get.
I like it. Good. Were there any other dawn resolutions that we need to do for the moves, for playbook moves? In that case, let's any unresolved Janus mask prompts. I think you owe us something, don't you, Willoughby?
I do. I am going to flash back to my young adulthood before I was a servant and show you what a charmed life I had. In this particular moment, I am recalling a day, and it was just before we were hosting a large luncheon gathering at the estate, when I was rounding the corner chasing one of the dogs, and I come face to face with a woman about my own age, who, just a young woman, dark hair, and she has, I don't know if she's got the bow and arrow with her, but she's definitely got some sort of a tool or a weapon. And I come around the corner and kind of out of breath, and Tati, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to arrive for another hour. Come, let us get us back to your mother.
I like it. So you know Toddy Braithwaite. It's good.
I do.
Very good. Very good. I love it. All right. And then I think that is everything for the dawn phase. And so we're kind of at a weird time. I don't think I want to start a brand new phase. So let's just cut the session a little short and go to stars and wishes, if that's okay. So stars are things you enjoyed. Wishes are things you hope to see next time. Whoever wants to speak first, go for it.
Stars to seeing the doctor unbutton a little bit, as it were, and enjoy himself a little. And also, I really enjoy how Willoughby's encounter with the silvery void keeps coming up, and how they've been affected by it. And I think you're working it in really well. It's fun to see them deal with it. And also, just I'm really intrigued by the Society Obscura. That's a really cool group of characters and concept, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. So that's my main wish. With a second wish, I'm looking forward to Willoughby being like, "What's up with you? Why are you being so mean to Alexander?"
I'll for stars, I really enjoyed this session because you all actually didn't get much done in terms of the threats. Like you found very few clues, and very little progress was made, and mechanical progress was made on the threats. And yet we got a huge amount of story, lots of great scenes and moments. This interesting new faction in the Society Obscura. Just a lot of the details in Cremorne Gardens were really fun. The figs came into the picture again and showed their viciousness. So we just got quite a lot of like stuff and a lot of good, rich storytelling. And yeah, you didn't make much progress on the threats, but that's okay. And I like that it's still kind of everything. The story was still quite good despite that, which I think is really good. And I really enjoyed Periwinkle. I like to play Periwinkle a lot. Or this version of this is a character that there's an analog character in Brindlewood Bay as well called Percy, and who's always changing costumes. And so it was just really fun to do that. And then yeah, I'm also really intrigued by this sort of ongoing extra dimensional storyline with Willoughby. It's super fascinating. I loved I loved the sort of ancient Greek references, that kind of coming up, and especially as they relate to Mr. Gennadios, and just seeing Dr. Tagore kind of like truly just kind of leaning into. It was kind of fun because Dr. Tagore got to make progress on the child while doing nothing. Basically other people did it, and you got to just sort of lean into the sort of decadence and of this like sort of social encounter. And I thought that was really quite enjoyable. So yeah, it was just really fun for me overall, and I liked the overall vibe and mood of what we were doing today. And my wish for next time is I'm just very interested to see how Mr. Turner affects things, because right now the Society Obscura is just so about the three of you, right? And so introducing a fourth character into the mix I think will be interesting as far as how the Society Obscura like reacts to that and so forth. So yeah.
I definitely have stars for all of Periwinkle's costume changes every single time. It felt really fun visually, like we were all there together.
It was comic, yeah.
And I just imagine you having a list of 50 costumes back here, just so you can pick whichever one is the funniest in that moment. Stars for Mr. Gennadios really starting to have a lot more fun with his followers. That's very interesting to see develop. I too am looking forward as a wish for Willoughby to start to confront their employer a little bit more on what they're starting to discover. I also would love to show Ives needs to see this mirror is what is going to happen next game. I promise you that. That's going to be a lot of fun to play. But yeah, I also really liked the tenor of it. It just felt like it kept moving, even if we only got 2 clues and a bunch of figs.
Well, it's a good thing that Willoughby kept Periwinkle alive. Just in terms of NPCs, Periwinkle is adorable and hilarious. So that was fun. I also like, Jason, that you use the phrase "the language of the camera." I teach photography as in real life or whatever, and I've got a feeling that's going to show up in my curriculum down the road. I've already learned another thing from you, the paint the scene that you use. I use that in my classroom as well. So it's interesting that role-playing games sometimes lead into
That's awesome.
real life
great.
use. What else? We'll be picking up the fallen cigar and then grabbing, well, prior to that, grabbing the hammer from the tester strength booth. Just the sort of, I'm here to scoop it up. Don't worry, I've got it. Is delightful. Just fun to see all the character coming out in that. And Drew, the tombstone with the mirror, like I'm gonna have nightmares about that sucker, honestly. That was rough. And another sort of silvery void thing. I'm loving the blending of worlds, the kind of the Greek pantheon is watching you, the fragrant void's out there behind this camera, the silver void keeps showing up. So that like the looseness, like that we might slip through at any moment is really brilliant.
Well, and this is, I'll interject really quickly. This is like this is like real deep cut reference to my other game, Brindlewood Bay, right? Because in Brindlewood Bay, the characters are fighting a cult dedicated to the monstrous aspect of Persephone, which is trying to bring forth a monstrosity from the fragrant void, right? So this is like the Whateley Camera essentially connects the 2 games to be in the same universe. And so yeah, it's kind of a fun, just a little, for me, like my little cinematic universe. It's fun to do.
Yeah,
so.
You pulled a touch of trophy in with the appearance of the albino peacock.
Yeah, and that was just a joke. That, like, I wrote, that's literally written in the thread, and it's purely just like a gag about our Saturday Trophy Gold games. So no one will get it except the 4 of us, but like, and Fraser, but yeah.
The one other thing that for me just sort of was such an amazing moment, Drew, whenever you had Mr. Gennadios talk about his brief love of fisticuffs and that it led into being there with Kit Marlowe. So damn good.
Yeah, that's star for me too. I love that's a good moment. It's fun.
Yeah. What wishes? Yeah, I want to see how Mr. Turner gets involved in this mess.
Yeah. It was interesting because I think this is the first session we've had without Mr. Turner, and it was interesting because when Mr. Turner is in the session, or when the vessel's ever in the session in any game in between, the framing of things can be so different. It's so much more like overtly supernatural. It's much darker, and that's by design. But it was kind of interesting to see it here in play because minus Mr. Turner, everything had kind of it almost had like more of it was more about art and science, I guess, like, and the occult wasn't, I mean, the occult's obviously there, but it wasn't as pronounced. I don't think it felt like on par with art and science and spirituality or something, right? And I thought that was just in terms of like just the way that the presence or absence of the characters affects the feeling of the game. I think is super interesting. So.
I would add just one last thought to that. Early on in the chat, I said, well, I guess since Frasier's not here, I'm the one that's going to have to figure out what the void smells like.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really came into
Yeah,
play. Like,
yeah,
there were
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of Janice masks I marked today.
Well, and that was interesting because if you didn't have all of your conditions that you have, this probably would have been a cool session, but it would have been very just like rich weirdos, right? Like it probably wouldn't have even gone into some of those like occult places without that. So I think it's interesting how those things affect the story for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't have anything else. This was great fun. Anything else before we go?
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording.